Chapter 432. Sensing this killing intent, Li Qingshan's eyes twitched. It seemed like he would have to settle things today. Chu Tian, I don't have any deep enmity with you, but don't blame me for being cruel and merciless when you put on such a display. The 5 elements' true energy shone brilliantly, condensing into a giant hand above Chu Tian's head. His mind sank bit by bit as he coldly gazed at Li Qingshan. All the humiliations he had received appeared in his mind. Li Qingshan, today is the day you die. Li Qingshan and Little and exchanged glances. A lion should use all its strength to capture a rabbit. Let's not waste any more words and work together to instantly kill him. Little and understood and pinched the skull prayer beads. The setting sun cast their figures into the wild forest below. Their gazes clashed, and a battle to the death could break out at any moment. Li Qingshan frowned and looked into the distance. He rubbed Little Anne's head and curiously sized up Chu Tian. Could it be that the reincarnation of a celestial really had the mandate of heaven protecting them? Wei Yangsheng flew over and shouted from afar, "Chu Tian, what are you doing?" When Chu Tian heard that Li Qingshan wanted to open up his cave, he had come here to lay an ambush, thinking that no one would notice. However, he was a person who showed his emotions on his face. His body was filled with killing intent, and he would occasionally sneer. No one could see that something was wrong with him. As soon as Chu Tian left the 100 schools of thought, a Confucian disciple quietly reported to Wei Yangsheng, "Patriarch, why are you here?" Chu Tian's expression changed, and he put down the item, not daring to make a move. Wei Yangsheng ignored Chu Tian and bowed to Li Qingshan. "Junior brother Li, what are you doing?" "Chu Tian wants to challenge me." "Don't stop him, senior brother. I'd like to see just what he's capable of," Li Qingshan muttered. He also sensed something was amiss. Although Chu Tian was arrogant, he wasn't actually stupid. Could it be that he couldn't see the difference in strength between them? Since he dared to challenge him, he must have some powerful trump card. "Chu Tian, is this true?" Wei Yangsheng asked in surprise. What kind of person was Li Qingshan? Not to mention a mere qi practitioner, even he did not have the confidence to defeat him. Challenge him? Is the god of longevity tired of living? You even chose such a desolate place. Once Li Qingshan's murderous intent flares up, do you think you'll still be alive? "Patriarch, don't worry about me, this is our private matter." Chu Tian waved his hand in annoyance. Wei Yangsheng was angered by the retort. "I was so worried about your safety and hurried over, but you didn't appreciate it at all. Instead, you're complaining that I'm a busybody. Chu Tian, your cultivation is amazing, I can't control you. I'll just watch from here. Let's see how you win. I'll be waiting to applaud and congratulate you." "Senior brother, don't be angry." Li Qingshan smiled. He knew that Wei Yangsheng was staying here because he didn't want Chu Tian to suffer too much. But the current Chu Tian was just an insignificant person to him. So what if he spared his life? There was still a long way to go. Chu Tian frowned, his face full of anxiety. He clenched and unclenched his fists. In front of Wei Yangsheng, he couldn't use that thing. He couldn't kill Wei Yangsheng as well. After so many years together, he still had some feelings for Wei Yangsheng. He wasn't deranged to the point of not recognizing his own family. But if he didn't use that thing, how could he win? If he admitted defeat like this, he would lose face. In his heart, he still had some hope. Now that his 5 elemental true qi was complete and formed the 5 elemental body protection, even if he faced a foundation establishment cultivator, he would have the ability to protect himself. When he returned, he could just say that even a foundation establishment cultivator like Li Qingshan couldn't do anything to him. Then he would win. Li Qingshan didn't waste any time. He separated his hands and used the vortex technique. The invisible true qi of heaven and earth converged into a huge vortex in the blink of an eye. It spun rapidly and released a strong suction force, causing the wind to howl. In the wild forest on the ground, some trees with shallow roots were uprooted and sucked into the vortex. Wei Yangsheng's expression changed slightly. He flew back more than 10 feet and thought, "Is the arts of the boundless ocean so powerful?" It was a happy thing for the 100 schools of thought to have such a powerful figure, but Chu Tian was going to be unlucky. For a moment, he didn't know whether he should be happy or worried. Chu Tian was shocked. He clenched his teeth and desperately urged the 5 elemental true qi to stabilize his body. But like a withered leaf in a vortex, he was involuntarily sucked into the center of the vortex. Suddenly, with a roar, the 5 elemental palm print fiercely slapped at Li Qingshan. Li Qingshan smiled. The vortex reversed and Chu Tian flew out again. He could only watch as Li Qingshan went further and further away. The vortex spun again and he was sucked in again. After going back and forth countless times, Chu Tian felt the sky and earth were spinning. He was dizzy and had no strength to fight back. A foundation establishment cultivator had an overwhelming advantage over a qi refinement cultivator. Chu Tian might be able to protect himself in front of a normal foundation building cultivator by relying on the 5 elemental true qi, but how could a normal foundation building cultivator compare to Li Qingshan? Li Qingshan simply sat on the cloud and guided the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. If he wanted Chu Tian to go east, he would go west. If he wanted Chu Tian to go west, he would go west. It was purely for fun. Wei Yangsheng sighed softly. He wanted to say something but stopped. It was good to teach Chu Tian a lesson. If a qi practitioner jumped out like this and made trouble for him, this kind of trick would be considered light. Chu Tian said angrily, Li Qingshan, F***ck, what are you going to do? Li Qingshan's figure flashed. He arrived in front of Chu Tian and slapped down with his palm. Chu Tian's protective true qi began to crumble inch by inch. Bang! Like a rubber ball, Chu Tian flew into the wild forest. With a boom, the forest trembled, and smoke rose in all directions. Li Qingshan wanted to chase after him. Wei Yangsheng stopped him and advised, Junior brother, give me some face and let it go. He's already been taught a lesson. Chu Tian jumped out of the deep pit he created. He stared at Li Qingshan with bloodshot eyes. Li Qingshan, you've gone too far. Li Qingshan said in surprise, weren't you the one who came to challenge me? What does it have to do with me? Did you come here just to make me happy? Thank you, I'm in a much better mood now. Chu Tian, why don't you apologize? Wei Yangsheng grabbed Chu Tian and shot him a glance. Chu Tian looked at Wei Yangsheng before looking at Li Qingshan. He clearly had a powerful trump card, yet he was unable to use it. He felt so wronged and furious that he actually burst into tears. It made Li Qingshan very apologetic. He clasped his hands at Wei Yangsheng. Senior brother, I'll be leaving first. Wei Yangsheng was exasperated at Chu Tian for failing to live up to his expectations. He persuaded earnestly and sincerely, Little Tian, we're all people of the academy. It's not like you've killed your father or stolen your wife, so why must you humiliate yourself like this? Even if you want to get back at them, you need to reach foundation establishment first. Senior brother, if it weren't for you, Chu Tian hammered the ground as he choked back sobs. If it weren't for me? What? The Hawkwolf Guard bustled about in the Clear River Prefecture. Hua Sengzan descended from above and stepped in. Commander Hua, you've come. Everyone greeted him. Yep, I've come. Hua Sengzan nodded at them one by one. He made his way upstairs quickly and pushed open the door. Wang Pushi stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window with his hands behind his back. He said without even looking back, Where is he? Didn't I tell you to tell him to report back? Hua Sengzan said, He said he wanted to set up a dwelling, so I told him to go first. Aren't you being too lenient with him? Even if he's at Foundation Establishment, he's still a Hawkwolf Guard, and he's a disciple of the Academy. He has his own responsibilities. If he wants to enter secluded cultivation, he can enter secluded cultivation. If he wants to set up a dwelling, he can set up a dwelling. What kind of propriety would that be? Wang Pushi turned around and said sternly. Compared to 3 years ago, his appearance had not changed much. He only seemed a little more weathered. But he just killed a demon general. Wang Pushi was taken aback. Even so, he can't act so recklessly. However, his tone eased up. Not all of the school leaders of the academy could kill demon generals. Although Li Qingshan did whatever he wanted and was unrestrained, the things he did were impeccable. As a matter of fact, they could not help but praise him for his actions. Fu Qingjin came earlier. He asked me about my whereabouts yesterday. He seems to be investigating something. Hua Sengzan ruminated over his conversation with Fu Qingjin just now. He wanted to analyze something from it. No matter what this leader of the demon slayer of the Clear River Prefecture did, there would always be a deeper meaning behind it. Investigating what? Wang Pushi frowned. I'm not sure. From what he said, someone did something impressive yesterday. He even said he's going to do something major before long. He wants our cooperation, and it'll be very beneficial to us as well. Hua Sengzan crossed his arms in thought as he propped up his chin with one hand, trying to guess what Fu Qingjin was thinking. In the Chain Mountains, a white cloud swam freely between the mountains. It was Li Qingshan and Little and who had come to search for a suitable place to set up a dwelling. A while later, they had toured through several dozen mountains of various sizes. Finally, Li Qingshan chose a mountain. Although it was not particularly steep or lofty, it did seem rather elegant. Let's get to work. Yeah. Little and nodded. They circled around the mountain again and found a natural cave. Li Qingshan condensed the water ripples in his right hand into a huge drill. The rock fell to the ground like powder, expanding the cave. It was the entrance to the dwelling. Li Qingshan ventured deeper. Before long, he had carved out a huge cave in the center of the mountain. He had basically created the simplest dwelling. In the end, he took out formation discs and banners and cast down the 8 gates formation of golden locks. The 8 characters of the 8 gates, rest, live, hurt, do, die, open, open, flickered one after another around the mountain. A diagram of the 8 trigrams revolved at the top of the mountain and suddenly froze, enveloping it before vanishing at the same time. It was like it had merged with the mountain, locking up the spiritual qi of the mountain firmly. Li Qingshan nodded in satisfaction. From that moment onwards, no one could enter the mountain so easily unless they received his permission. He did not have to worry about leaking demon qi and being discovered by others if he cultivated here either. Arriving at the entrance of the dwelling, Li Qingshan flattened the rocks above with a wave of his hand. He said to Little Anne, "I can't write. You do it." Little Anne bit her lips. The bone sword pierced through her palm and danced in the air. Her strokes were like dragons and snakes, and the rock powder scattered. 3 big words appeared: Qing Zhao's home. It was Qing Shan and Little Anne's home. Qing Zhao's dwelling. What a strange name. But it doesn't matter. From today onwards, this is our home. Li Qingshan crossed his arms and looked up. He was in high spirits. Little Anne smiled faintly. At that moment, the moon had just risen. The moonlight shone on the autumn mountains, shining on the 2 figures of one big and one small, freezing time. If you think this site is good, please remember to help promote this site. This site. Chapter 433. The Immortal's cave that Li Qingshan had opened up was neither elegant nor magnificent. It only had one word: large. In the spacious belly of the mountain, Li Qingshan took out the monster core of the strange clam. This monster core was also of the water attribute, so the power it contained was the best tonic for him. He opened his mouth and swallowed the monster core. A huge amount of energy was released from his body. Although it was not a self-explosion, the power was enough to take the life of an ordinary cultivator. Li Qingshan used the spirit turtle's method of Qi suppression, but he felt like he could no longer suppress it any longer. His body immediately changed, rapidly growing taller and larger, turning into his original form as a demon. An enormous amount of demonic qi penetrated the mountain peak and shot up to the sky. The 8 gates golden lock formation immediately activated and locked this qi. If this was in the 100 schools of thought, this would inevitably reveal his tracks. Here, however, there was no need to worry about this. The spirit turtle's demon core shone brightly, spinning as it revolved. It pressed down with all its might, absorbing the demon core bit by bit. Only then did Li Qingshan's figure gradually return to normal. Seeing that Li Qingshan was fine, and sat down cross-legged at the side and summoned out the corpse soldiers. She activated the blood flame of corpse incineration and the pale flame of bone smelting, and refined a corpse in an instant. 10 days later, a skull prayer bead was forged. The 14 little skeleton devils were jumping around as if they were welcoming their new companions. Li Qingshan's cultivation had reached the most critical juncture. During the 3 years of secluded cultivation, he had been constantly practicing the spirit turtle's method of sea suppression, never stopping. Originally, he thought he could easily break through to the 4th layer of the spirit turtle with the water element demon core, but just now, he discovered it would not be that easy. Even if he completely digested the demonic core, he still needed a little more. This was the essence of a demon general that had been condensed for thousands of years. As his cultivation increased, the spirit turtle's demon core's demand for resources became more and more startling. If he just sat there and absorbed the spiritual qi of the world, who knew how many years it would take before it was enough? Li Qingshan suddenly remembered that when he killed the strange centipede, he had also obtained some low-quality monster cores, which were basically water-type. He took it out and swallowed it, making up for the last bit. In the Sword Collection Palace, the white-haired divining elder, sitting cross-legged in front of the 9 provinces map, the Tianji sword rested horizontally on his knees. It spun endlessly. While Fu Qingjin was investigating, Elder Diviner did not stop tracking. The Sumeru ring was equivalent to a miniature world of its own. Apart from the owner, no one would be able to detect the situation inside, much less sense the aura of the flying dragon sword. Elder Divining pondered for a moment, then once again set his sights on the soaring dragon elder's Sumeru ring. It was difficult for the people of this world to find out what was happening in other worlds, but the door would always remain in this world. Until it was destroyed. Although it would not emit any aura, it was a trajectory that could be vaguely grasped. A couple of years ago, Elder Destiny tried the same thing. As a result, he suffered a counterforce and was injured severely. What hurt him wasn't Oxen himself, but Oxen's spirit power, which was left in Jihao's ring. If it were not for this spirit power, the Sword Collection Palace would have found Li Qingshan with the divination of the heavenly secrets a long time ago and cut him to pieces. Li Qingshan thought Oxen had already left, but little did he know that in these past few years, Oxen's power had always been protecting him. But at this moment, the spirit power vanished. Li Qingshan was like a child who had lost his final layer of protection. Not only did he have to survive in this world alone, but he also had to face powerful enemies that he struggled to face right now. Rise. Elder Destiny's hands were like a lotus, extending and moving with unbelievable dexterity. The sword of heavenly secrets thrummed and rose up, pointing downwards and hovering above his head. One with the sword. The sword of heavenly secrets fell down, stabbing into Elder Destiny's forehead and merging with it. Elder Destiny's pitch-black pupils conjured a taiji diagram of yin and yang, constantly spinning as he gazed at the 9 provinces map. At that moment, his gaze seemed to pierce through the mountains and rivers, gazing over the entire Clear River Prefecture. He wanted to find the tiny Sumeru ring within these 1,500 kilometers of rivers and mountains. He did not need to investigate, he did not need to analyze, he did not need to ask, he did not need to think. He directly asked fate itself, begging the heavens for an answer. After wandering around the river of fate for who knows how long, the corner of Elder Destiny's lips suddenly curled into a sliver of joy. He had finally found it. It was like a ray of sunlight in the darkness. Now, all he needed to do was follow this ray of sunlight and trace it back to its source. This also made Elder Destiny completely stop worrying. The last time he divined, the disaster of destruction had appeared with this ray of sunlight. In his days, it seemed to be aback. It did not give off any hostility, nor did it purposefully attack him. However, this was the most terrifying part, as just the existence itself was enough to make his divination completely collapse. If it were not for the fact that he had become one with the sword, allowing the sword of heavenly secrets to absorb most of the damage, his sea of consciousness would have almost suffered a destructive blow. He felt like a flying insect that had accidentally flown into the crater of a volcano. The volcano erupted on its own, completely unaware of the existence of the flying insect. However, just a tiny wisp of smoke was enough to kill the flying insect. Elder Destiny followed that beam of sunlight. Abruptly, he sensed a disturbance. He was surprised for a second, but soon he calmed down. It seemed like the other party also knew divination, but just now, the other party's strength was still below his. Little End, who was refining the skull prayer beads, felt his heart skip a beat. He frowned slightly and used the cloud bookcase of the 7 lots. Elder Destiny immediately felt the interference intensify. The ray of sunlight twisted, and the path it pursued became unpredictable. Battles between practitioners of divination like this were even more profound and mysterious than any other form of battle. Elder Destiny smiled. Confident, he nullified Little End's interference one by one, advancing towards his target firmly. Li Qingshan had no idea that Little End beside him was currently engaged in a battle like this with Elder Destiny thousands of kilometers away. All he did was quietly comprehend the changes in the spirit turtle's method of sea suppression until his mind reached absolute tranquility. Within the spirit turtle's demon core that resembled a turtle shell. Vaguely, there seemed to be something brewing within the tortoise shell, stirring restlessly. It was as if the primal chaos had just been born. The tortoise shell suddenly shook, and a pair of eyes lit up, deep and wise. Li Qingshan opened his eyes, which flickered with a clear, blue light. In that moment, he felt like he had been enlightened, as mortals would say. Many matters that had been difficult to understand suddenly became clear. The entire world became clear. Having broken through to the 4th layer of the spirit turtle, the profound glyphs on the spirit turtle's demon core became even clearer. An invisible power radiated from his body, reaching deep into the vast river of destiny and stirring up ripples. Elder Destiny opened his eyes in surprise. Just when the answer was about to appear, the ray of sunlight vanished completely, as if it had been obscured by a dark cloud. It was nowhere to be found anymore. "You finally awakened." Little End exhaled deeply. "What's wrong?" Li Qingshan scratched his head. Although he was not particularly good at using the spirit turtle's ability of divination, hiding and fending off attacks were the instincts of the spirit turtle. From the perspective of the divination of heavenly secrets, what he hid was not just him, but his entire fate, in particular the existences closely connected to him. "Didn't you sense it? Someone's using divination to find us, or should I say, find it." Little End looked at the Sumeru ring in his hand. Hearing what Little End said, Li Qingshan returned to his senses. He frowned and said, "Earlier I think. I felt like someone was spying on me, which made me feel bad, so I hid. Why would I think of that?" And brought his palms together and smiled. The Buddhist scriptures say that there are 20 moments in a snap of a finger, and 20 thoughts in a moment. That's just one of your thoughts, so you obviously wouldn't notice it normally. Li Qingshan flicked his finger and smiled. So there are 400 thoughts in there. They're probably the so-called subconscious. Many thoughts flashed through his mind. Even the person in question had no idea that they had thought that before. After reaching the 4th layer of the spirit turtle, not only did Li Qingshan's demon chi increase drastically, but his thoughts became even more meticulous as well, reaching an unprecedented level. Li Qingshan paced around. He even understood the protection from Oxen's soul sense, which made him feel very touched. Brother Ox must have calculated his cultivation accurately. Even if he could not foresee everything after reaching the 4th layer of the spirit turtle, he would not fall prey to a method like this. He had basically resolved one of his worries. He smiled. As for what he was going to do next, he already had an idea. The Sword Collection Palace definitely had a way to find the Soaring Dragon Sword's location, which was why Fu Qingjin had asked like that. If he wanted to retrieve the items in the Sumeru ring or even make the Soaring Dragon Sword his own, he needed a suitable place that could avoid the Sword Collection Palace's detection while weakening the Soaring Dragon Sword's resistance. A place like that was actually not difficult to find. It was right below Li Qingshan's feet. He kept going down, venturing even deeper underground and using the underground magnetic field. "Little N, what do you think?" Li Qingshan shared his thoughts with Little N. "Smart," Little N praised sincerely. Li Qingshan laughed aloud before sighing emotionally. His fate had been led underground once again, but he was in no hurry to set off. He could not let the North Moon appear too soon. After saying a few words to Little Anne and seeing her success, Li Qingshan calmed down and took out the illusory water sword of invisibility to begin refining it. Paired with the glazed mirror of invisibility, it was a match made in heaven. In the blink of an eye, over a month had passed. Autumn passed and winter came. Snow sealed off the mountains. The crystal resin cauldron was opened once more. Ru Exen rubbed her neck and stood up. She took out the refined pills from the crystal resin cauldron and stored them into bottles. Looking through them, she saw that there were still quite a lot of spiritual herbs left behind by Li Qingshan. I wonder how that guy is doing. He left me to toil here alone. I'll go out and take a breather. Just as she was thinking about this, someone activated the spirit design. Li Qingshan's voice came from outside the cave. Ru Exen, open the door. Ru Exen activated the spirit design and opened the door to the cave abode. She scolded him. Don't shout and shout in the future. What if I'm refining pills and you get distracted? You'll pay me or you'll pay me. I know you're not refining pills. How's it going? Li Qingshan walked in, minding his own business. How did you know? I guessed. Li Qingshan smiled. This was not a lie. He had not deliberately divined anything. He just thought of Ru Exen and had a thought. That guy might have gotten bored with refining pills and came here. If you think this site is good, please remember to help me promote it. This site. Chapter 434. Why don't you come to my dwelling and take a look around? Where is it? Li Qingshan extended his hand, and the wisps of cloud condensed into a cloud bridge, crossing the gorge and extending into the distance. Ru Exen followed the winding cloud bridge and circled around a mountain in front of her. After walking a short distance, she arrived in front of Li Qingshan's dwelling. She saw the words, Qing Zhao's home, and seemed to be in thought. She stroked her hair. So close? Don't tell me you're plotting something against me. Don't flatter yourself. I'm just protecting my pills and the alchemist. In other words, you were cultivating in the dwelling that day? Fu Qingjin crossed his legs and crossed his arms, gazing at the master of the vermilion clothes sect before him with a smile. The master of the vermilion clothes sect seemed rather uneasy. Fellow Fu, why are you asking this? I obviously cultivated in the sect. Fu Qingjin took out a curved, long horn from behind him. It flickered with light. Have you heard of the Xieji before, fellow? It's said to be a divine beast that can distinguish between loyalty and treachery. So that's right. This is the Xieji's horn. I hope you can tell me the truth, as this is very important. Fu Qingjin fiddled around with the green ruins sword carelessly. The master of the vermilion clothes sect's expression twisted. This was his secret. He definitely could not tell anyone about it. However, he glanced at the green ruined sword before glancing at the Xieji's horn. After a very long internal struggle, he finally said, Fine then. I'll tell you. I went underground that day. All right, I understand. Fu Qingjin turned around and stood up. He investigated all the mainframe cultivators in the vicinity of the Clear River Prefecture. He obtained a preliminary result. Some of them were personally questioned by him, while others had clear alibis. However, there were also a few Foundation establishment cultivators who refused to cooperate. They all belonged to the 100 schools of thought. In the end, there were a total of 7 suspects. The prime suspect, Li Qingshan, the master of the vermilion clothes sect, felt like he had been pardoned. He let out a long sigh. As it seemed, Fu Qingjin had not come to investigate that matter. You're going to trade with the night roamers, right? Fu Qingjin's words made the vermilion clothes sect master's heart skip a beat. Contact envoy, let me explain. Colluding with the mutants and colluding with the enemy. It was a big taboo in the Demon Slayer. That's right. 3 years ago. Your disciple who killed a Hawkwolf guard is still around, right? Don't let him wander around. We might need him soon. After saying that, Fu Qingjin turned into a green light and flew away. The Vermilion Robes sect master was stunned. Fu Qingjin left the Vermilion Clothes sect and flew into the sky. He did not go to find the suspects one by one and interrogate them. Instead, he chose a direction. He flew towards the direction of the vast mountains. those directly related to the soaring dragon elder's death. The Dark Queen's cat demon and Gu Yeni. The Sword Collection Palace would not be able to investigate either one of them, but there would definitely be witnesses in the depths of the boundless mountains. That was because the witnesses were definitely demons. Due to the restrictions of the Alliance, the Sword Collection Palace struggled to investigate. Coupled with the Divining Elder's warning, they stopped. But now, the alliance within the Clear River Prefecture had been nullified, and the Divining Elder had confirmed that the power that did not belong here no longer interfered. They could finally carry out the investigation boldly. They would definitely be able to get to the bottom of the Soaring Dragon Elder's death by tackling these two aspects at the same time. Arriving at the edge of the boundless mountains, he saw that a city had already sprung up in the huge crater left behind by the destruction of the Green Vine Mountain. It was enveloped by formations, and many human cultivators moved about. It was even more bustling than the town of Flowing Clouds in the past. After the alliance was nullified, many human cultivators chose to enter the boundless mountains instead of the underground. Killing demons was also the same, but clearly, it was more reassuring to do it on the surface. And the sunlit boundless mountains were even more abundant in spiritual herbs. Then Fu Qingjin looked towards the east. Millipede had blown up his demon core, leaving behind a pit there as well. On the surface, it seemed barren. But Fu Qingjin knew that a city of night roamers had sprung up beneath the rock and soil. It was rumored that the night roamers there did not attack humans. Instead, they remained neutral. According to the information Fu Qingjin had received, the supreme rulers of the city were a pair of night roamer sisters. The master of the Vermilion Clothes sect should have been dealing with them. This was not a coincidence. Compared to risking their lives in battles to the death, obtaining the rare resources underground through trade was much more appealing. The rise of the Green Vine Mountain's heavenly pit market had a lot to do with their attitude. Who knew how many resources were traded through these two cities? With Li Qingshan's throne as the center, the web-like tunnels became smooth and clean under the efforts of the night roamer craftsmen. They were like underground corridors. Her slender fingertips brushed past the smooth walls. As Yi Liusu walked through them, she felt a deep sense of pride. This was the result of her 3 years of hard work. Yi Liubo followed beside her, fiddling around with a set of formation banners. Sister, I never thought the humans would actually be willing to sell us formations like this. They seem to be members of some demon slayer. Isn't that our great enemy underground? It's not like we're demons, so why can't we? The black gold ore is extremely useful for forging artifacts. The demon slayer doesn't have the ability to build underground mines either, so they obviously have to rely on us. As they said that, the two of them arrived in a cavern. This was a newly built village of night roamers. Every single night roamer bowed deeply when they saw Yi Liusu. This was not only out of fear towards power, but also out of respect towards Yi Liusu herself. Outside Li Qingshan's territory, the night roamer's internal strife did not stop. Instead, it intensified, extending from underground to the surface. As they followed Spider Queen's orders and assassinated human cultivators, they also became prey for each other. Under Yi Liusu's rule, Li Qingshan's will was carried out here. All internal strife ceased, becoming a unique land of peace. Many night roamers who had grown tired of fighting or were powerless to fight all gathered here, willing to become Sir North Moon's servants. It was equivalent to breaking free from the control of other clans. When Li Qingshan was in secluded cultivation, his servants had already expanded to 5 digits. Yi Liusu smiled. She had proven that night roamers did not have to kill one another to survive. They could also enjoy their lives in peace and happiness. Diobua, set up the formation. Yi Liubo cast down the formation, and a semicircular glow enveloped the cavern. Yi Liusu nodded in satisfaction. Just like that, even if they were attacked by ignorant human cultivators, they would have time to provide reinforcements. Just when is master emerging from secluded cultivation? Yi Liubo kicked a rock beside her foot. Don't worry. He'll wake up sooner or later. Yi Liusu's eyes flickered. When he woke up, she wanted to personally thank him and tell him, "You're right. I'm special." The rock flew into the darkness, but there was no sound of collision. Yi Liusu's expression changed. "Be careful, Zhuba." The rock shot back with 10 times the speed, but it smashed into the barrier of light created by the formation. Strong stone emerged from the darkness and roared out, "Where's the North Moon?" Chapter 435. Strong Stone's bulky body constantly radiated with a vicious, forceful aura. 3 years of battle had completely unleashed his nature, and his strength had increased drastically too. His shining eyes were completely condensed from killing intent and battle intent. He grinned viciously, revealing his ghastly white teeth as if he wanted to feast on someone. "Everyone retreat." Yi Liusu spread her arms like she was protecting a calf and ordered loudly. However, it was already too late. The formation was actually unable to stop the wondrous power of the Rock of Slaughter. The eyes of half the village's night roamers reddened as they lunged towards their companions. Yi Liubo waved her hand, and the bright yellow satin that Li Qingshan had bestowed upon her enveloped the night roamers, pulling them away from Strong Stone. "Sir Strong Stone, please withdraw your power. This is Sir North Moon's territory." Yi Liusu clasped her hands. Strong Stone gave her more of a headache than any human cultivator. "Don't you have ears? That's exactly what I've come for. It's his." Strong Stone swaggered over, but he was blocked by the formation. "Sir North Moon is currently in secluded cultivation. He probably can't see you. Is he bold enough to disobey Spider Queen's orders?" A handsome, rosy-cheeked man in a cloak strode over from behind Strong Stone. He seemed to move slowly and leisurely, but he arrived before him in the blink of an eye. As he opened his mouth, he revealed 2 sharp fangs. "Sir Blood Shadow." Yi Liusu sensed that something was amiss. She said with difficulty, "If I wanted to pass on Spider Queen's orders, why would the 2 of you need to come together?" "Yi Liusu, your actions the past few years have left Spider Queen very dissatisfied. Not only do you avoid battle, but you're even bold enough to trade with humans. If it weren't for that bastard North Moon's contribution, I would have come and killed you a long time ago." Blood Shadow's demon chi filled the cavern. Just the pressure from his demon chi was enough to make the formation tremble. Over the past 3 years, he had devoured an unknown amount of fresh blood, and his strength had also increased by a level. "We are not avoiding the battle passively. Instead, he was accumulating strength." Yi Liusu's explanation was powerless. "This is the gadget you got from the humans?" Strong Stone knocked on the screen in front of him. Suddenly enraged, he punched the light screen. The entire cavern trembled and swayed, and stalagmites fell from the ceiling. The light screen of the formation was instantly filled with cracks. "Lord Strong Stone, please calm down." Yi Liusu hurriedly put away the array. Not to mention that this array couldn't stop them, even if it could. How could she dare to fight against these 2 great demons? After 3 years of hard work, she once thought that she was strong enough. She even thought that there was nothing wrong with Li Qingshan going into seclusion, and that she could do whatever she wanted. But at this moment, she realized how weak she was. If Strong Stone and Blood Shadow worked together, they could destroy everything they had spent 3 years to build in a single moment, just like how they destroyed human cities. "I don't care if you're avoiding the battle passively or gathering your strength. I only need to tell you that Spider Queen's patience is limited." Blood Shadow sneered. Strong Stone grinned viciously. The humiliation of losing to the North Moon in the past. It was time for payback. The 2 demons rampaged about, alarming all the night roamers. The personal guards led by Yi Liusu all rushed over. They looked at one another, but they were afraid to stop them. The 2 demons arrived at the central cavern where Li Qingshan resided. Because they were afraid to disturb Li Qingshan, only this place remained the same as it was 3 years ago. In the sea of blue butterfly flowers, Li Qingshan's mirror clone sat on a stone pedestal, while Millipede coiled around him, breathing in and out spiritual chi. He had recovered a lot of his strength, and he was much larger than before. He saw Strong Stone stride over and lunge over, spitting out a pink mist. Strong Stone suddenly grew taller, turning into a huge stone giant and crushing millipede beneath his feet. Then he immediately recovered his original appearance, transforming at will. He went up and grabbed Li Qingshan by the neck. "Wake up, Master!" Yi Liuba's cry reached Li Qingshan's ears from a great distance away. Li Qingshan's tightly shut eyes slowly opened. His scarlet, ruby-like eyes shone. "It's you?" Blood Shadow said from the side. "Where's your true body?" Spider Queen wants to see you. We want to see you too. We've come to settle our old debts." "Let go of your foot." Li Qingshan saw Millipede struggle beneath strong stone's feet, and his eyes suddenly turned cold. "Are you angry? Then hurry up and come. I'm already itching to fight you. If you come too slowly, all of your servants will die." Blood Shadow waved his hand, and a night roamer guard began to twitch. Scarlet blood squeezed out of every single pore on his body desperately, flying into Blood Shadow's hand. He extended his tongue and licked it. Ripples of light radiated from Li Qingshan's body. Every single night roamer in the area felt a sense of tranquility arise spontaneously. The light flowed along Strong Stone's arm and into his body. Strong Stone suddenly felt his raging battle intent and killing intent suddenly settle down. Surprised, he took a step back and let go of Li Qingshan. Li Qingshan's figure flickered, sometimes blurry and sometimes clear. He stood in the center of the ripples, but he also seemed like a reflection in the ripples. Only his demon chi constantly rose up. The reflection in the mirror, the reflection in the water. When the mirror shattered, the water stirred, but the reflection remained the same. Since the original body had changed, the mirror image would move too. This was another layer of comprehension that Li Qingshan had gained about this innate ability after reaching the fourth layer of the spirit turtle and condensing the essence of the spirit turtle. His mirror clone would no longer vanish from the depletion of demon chi. As long as he used this ability again, he would be able to make his mirror clone return to its original state, like calming down the ripples and allowing the moon to be reflected once more. At this moment, the mirror avatar was like he had used the moon's mirror again. As his main body became stronger, the mirror avatar's demonic aura also increased greatly. Originally, the moon's mirror could only reflect 30% of his strength, but now it had reached 40%. Immediately, the strength of Li Qingshan's mirror clone multiplied. And I had thought it was something impressive, but it turns out that's all there is to it. Blood Shadow sneered. Even though his demon chi had multiplied, there was still a huge disparity between him and the two powerful demons that had increased in strength. Blood Shadow curled his finger at Li Qingshan, and all of Li Qingshan's chi and blood immediately surged as if they were about to burst out of his body. He only uttered a single word, "Suppress." His chi and blood immediately settled down. Blood Shadow's face twisted viciously, and his fangs protruded. He grabbed at the air with his right hand and pulled hard. He refused to believe that he could not even deal with the North Moon's clone after 3 years of cultivation. Countless hexagonal, faint, blue screens of light emerged from Li Qingshan's body, spinning in a dazzling manner and reflecting everyone's faces. In the end, they settled down and formed a thin screen of light, completely isolating Blood Shadow's ability to control blood. This was still the innate ability he had grasped first, the spirit turtle's profound shell. However, after Li Qingshan broke through to the fourth layer of the spirit turtle, especially after obtaining the complete cultivation method from his sea of consciousness, his understanding of the spirit turtle had reached a whole new level. Most of the spirituality of the spirit turtle lay in its shell. Hidden within the shell was a world of its own. No matter how the world changed and how the world changed, it remained unfazed. Whether it was the mysteries of the heavenly secrets or the wonders of techniques, out of all the techniques in the world, what could bypass the spirit turtle's shell and affect it? In the moment the spirit turtle opened its eyes, Li Qingshan's barrier had surpassed Blood Shadow's control. It did not even have much to do with the amount of demon chi anymore. Blood Shadow was surprised. His ability was actually useless. "You're trying to act mysterious. Eat my punch." Strong Stone recovered his battle intent and killing nature, throwing out a punch. He had no doubt that the fragile screen of light would shatter under his fist. In a head-on clash like this, there were no tricks to be used. The faint, blue screen of light from the spirit turtle's profound shell was as smooth as a mirror. Strong Stone could clearly see himself lunging towards him, but he did not take it to heart. It was just a reflection. With a single thought, his fist landed on the spirit turtle's profound shell, colliding with the fist in the mirror without the slightest difference. Strong Boulder's face was filled with shock, as he could clearly sense a tangible power radiate from his own mirror image. It just happened to block his fist. Although it was slightly weaker than his own strength, it had nullified most of the force of his punch. Strong Stone and Blood Shadow looked at each other in shock. The strength and abilities they were most confident in were actually useless before the North Moon. Most importantly, the one before them was not the North Moon's original body. It was just a clone. Just what had he cultivated in the past 3 years? You can't even deal with my clone, yet you're actually talking nonsense about wanting my original body to come. All right then. Just you wait. I'll make you pay for what you've done just now. Seeing how Blood Shadow and Strong Stone were about to strike again, Xianxia dismissed the spirit turtle's profound shell with a wave of his hand. He just sat down and crossed his legs. Actually, he had already come up with a rough idea for this move just now during his 3 years of secluded cultivation. However, he had only been able to use it recently. The two abilities of the spirit turtle were closely related in the first place. In particular, the water mirror's image had many aspects worth ruminating over. It was definitely not as simple as a clone technique. However, this move required tremendous mental and physical effort, so he could not use it casually right now. As a result, he did not give them the opportunity to continue attacking after establishing his might. Blood Shadow was surprised and doubtful. Suddenly, he was no longer as confident in his 3 years of cultivation. As for what Xianxia had said, he no longer dared to ignore it. He could not exactly say that he regretted killing the Night Roamer guard. He just felt slightly uneasy. All right, I'd like to see just how powerful your original body is. Strong Stone's fighting spirit was roused even more. He felt like he could not waste his strength on his clone, so he sat down before Xianxia, eyeing him covetously. Seeing how Xianxia had subdued the 2 demon generals with just his clone, the eyes of the Night Roamer princesses all flickered. This was the person they had sworn loyalty to. Although this loyalty did not come from the bottom of their hearts and was only for the benefit of their respective clans, they could not help but feel awed by the strength he had demonstrated at a time like this. Master! The Night Roamers cheered and lunged over, throwing themselves into Xianxia's arms and kissing him fiercely. Yi Liusu let out a sigh of relief. Apart from relief, there was also a hint of peace. From what Blood Shadow had said just now, she had already understood that everything she had built up over the past 3 years had already reached a juncture of life and death. As long as Helicoverpa Rosa gave the order, everything would be annihilated. I won't run away from my responsibilities, but this is already something I can't bear. Master, please return. Chapter 436. In the gloomy tunnel, a few Night Roamer guards patrolled the area. With their identities, they had no right to take part in the chaos that was happening in the center of the cavern. Suddenly, a figure swept past with a fierce gust of wind. Strong Stone and Blood Shadow raised their heads. A tremendous demon chi rapidly approached them, which surprised them slightly. It had only been 3 years, yet his demon chi had actually grown so much. Yi Liusu's expression changed. He's here. The wings of wind no longer resembled wings anymore. Instead, they seemed more like 2 spurting whirlwinds, pushing Xianxia forward rapidly. The cavern rapidly rose and fell in a rhythmic manner. If it was in the past, he would probably be unable to control himself while flying underground at this speed, and he'd collide head first with the rock wall. But now, his mind was at the microscopic level, and his control of demonic chi had reached the pinnacle, causing his speed to become faster and faster instead. In the blink of an eye, his field of vision widened. Yi Liusu and the other Night Roamers, as well as the 2 demon generals, Strong Stone and Blood Shadow, had all appeared before him. Their expressions differed. Li Qingshan's eyes narrowed. He did not slow down at all, swooping down like a hawk on the hunt. Strong stone suddenly stood up and threw a punch. It turned into the size of a stone pillar and pierced the air with a thunderous rumble. Li Qingshan raised his eyebrows and clenched his fist. Blood shadow flashed to his side and swiped over viciously with his claws. Li Qingshan did not panic at all despite being attacked by two demon generals at the same time. He turned his gaze and looked at Blood Shadow. Blood Shadow met the clear, tranquil eyes and felt like he had been seen through. Before he could even respond, he felt his wrist tighten. As if he had been expecting this, Li Qingshan casually grabbed Blood Shadow's wrist and pulled him forward. Strong Stone's huge fist landed on Blood Shadow as hard as it could, and Blood Shadow coughed up a mouthful of blood violently. It was as if he had taken the initiative to deliver himself to Li Qingshan as a meat shield. With a flap of his wings, Li Qingshan's speed didn't slow down at all. He leaned to the side and swept past Strong Stone's pillar-like arm. Then he opened his fingers and grabbed Strong Stone's head and flew away. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Yi Liusu felt that it was too much for her eyes to take in, and she was dazed for a moment. The two enemies who had forced her into a corner were easily taken away by him. A violent tremor came from the distant underground. At this moment, Li Qingshan's doppelganger, who was left in the cave, said, "I'm going to the underground to meet the Spider Queen. Yi Liusu, tell me, what happened in the past 3 years?" When his mind reached the microscopic level, he could experience the life and death of a single thought within the 400 thoughts in a snap of the fingers. Multitasking was no longer a problem. Right now, he could control both his main body and his clone at the same time, and they did not interfere with each other. With Yi Liusu and Yi Liobua in the lead, the night roamers stood behind them. They said loudly, "Greetings, Master." Yi Liusu began to tell him everything that had happened in the past 3 years, including her trade with the humans. Li Qingshan listened quietly and smiled. "You sure are capable. It's all because of Master's inspiration," said Yi Liusu. She had done this precisely because Li Qingshan had initiated the trade between the resources of the humans and the underground world. Have the clans offered up spiritual herbs on time? Li Qingshan did not mind what Yi Liusu had done. Li Qingshan did not take it to heart. Who didn't want to live a better life? Apart from spiritual herbs, none of the other resources could be directly converted into his cultivation. If he sold them on the surface, it would easily raise suspicion. The losses outweighed the gains. Seeing how Li Qingshan did not pursue the matter, Yi Liusu eased up inside and immediately offered up 100 treasures pouch. Li Qingshan opened it and took a look. His eyes lit up and he smiled. Xian is going to be busy now. Even deeper underground. Li Qingshan had grabbed Strong Stone. He threw a furious punch at Blood Shadow. "Piss off. This is my battle." With a spurt, Blood Shadow was forcefully smashed to pieces, turning into droplets of blood. They twisted in the air and turned into a blood-red whip, lashing against Strong Stone viciously. Rock powder scattered, leaving behind a deep, white mark. Strong Stone became even more furious, turning around and charging towards his old enemy. Li Qingshan just abandoned them, continuing towards Cobweb City. Blood Shadow and Strong Stone exchanged glances before lunging towards Li Qingshan together. The three demons basically constantly moved downwards as they fought. The collision of three powerful demon chi shook up the underground. Helicoverpa Rosa emerged from Cobweb City afterwards and arrived on the platform. She gazed over with a frown. Li Qingshan shook his arms, and the spirit turtle's profound shell suddenly expanded. He pushed Blood Shadow and Strong Stone aside and landed on the platform with a flap of his wings. He arrived behind Helicoverpa Rosa. "Am Spider Queen, I've returned." Strong Stone and Blood Shadow followed closely behind. Under Spider Queen's coercion, they dared not act rashly. Helicoverpa Rosa studied Li Qingshan afterwards. "Your demon chi really has grown by quite a lot. If I hadn't sent Strong Stone and Blood Shadow to invite you, would you have remained in secluded cultivation the entire time?" "Of course not." Spider Queen said coldly, "Do you know what the night roamers under your command have been doing over the past few years?" Blood Shadow said, "That's colluding with the enemy. Please punish those night roamers, Ma, am Spider Queen, and strip Li Qingshan of his authority over the night roamers." I just found out. It's just a few transactions. Is that considered colluding with the enemy? Li Qingshan understood Helicoverpa Rose's cruel and mean nature very well. She absolutely detested peaceful coexistence like this. His past contributions were nothing in her eyes. Once he disliked her, she would never show any mercy. Since you've already ended your secluded cultivation, I look forward to your next performance. Helicoverpa Rosa stared at Li Qingshan threateningly with a vicious gaze before turning around and making her way into the hall. Her long dress trailed behind her. My patience is limited. Don't disappoint me. Yes, I understand. I understand. Li Qingshan lowered his head and said softly, "As long as you understand." In Blood Shadow and Strong Stone's eyes, this was obviously a sign of weakness under Spider Queen's pressure. After clashing just now, they had also discovered that Li Qingshan was not ridiculously powerful. His demon chi was still below theirs. If they actually began fighting, the outcome would be unknown. Making them pay was just an empty threat. However, they failed to notice that between Li Qingshan's drooping, scarlet hair, his clear eyes flickered with light. There was not much sharp killing intent. He was calm and confident. The path he walked had never required him to associate with anyone in the first place. He only needed to follow his heart, do whatever he wanted, and do whatever he wanted. At the same time, Li Qingshan's mirror clone said, "Liuba, gather all the matriarchs for a meeting." "Yes, Master." "Everyone else is dismissed. Liusu, you stay behind." Li Qingshan patted Milliped's head. "Aren't you injured?" Millipede shook his head and tail to express that he was fine. Li Qingshan smiled. "That's good." He thought inside, "Don't worry, I'll help you recover your strength very soon. All you need is a suitable demon core for you." Yi Liusu said, "May I ask what orders Master has for me?" "It's just us, so there's no need to be so polite. Come, take a seat." Li Qingshan patted the stone table beside him. Yi Liusu hesitated before sitting down gently. She said apologetically, "Did I cause you to be scolded by Spider Queen?" "How did you know?" "Forget it. It's not because of you. You've already done very well." Li Qingshan stared ahead. Their clash of ideals definitely did not stem from the night roamers. He did not fear challenges. He even enjoyed fighting, but he did not want to lose himself in the endless slaughter like the tiger demon. "Thank you." Yi Liusu's heart softened. She stared at his handsome, flawless face quietly. It was just like how Liusu had described it. It was extremely enchanting. "Liusu, Spider Queen has already passed an order. The days of peace are coming to an end. We must take part in the war." Yi Liusu had already anticipated this outcome, but she still could not help but sigh gently. Once they lost their neutrality, the trade would be impossible, and who knew how many night roamers would be sacrificed. Li Qingshan changed the topic. "Oh right, how's the promotion of your ideals going?" "Many people agree with me, but they're all regular night roamers. They're powerless to protect themselves, while the powerful ones turn their noses up at me, saying I'm indulging in fantasy." Yi Liusu rallied with vigor, but she also felt rather helpless. When she thought about how they were about to be sucked into the war, she felt even more gloomy. After so many years, it's not easy to change our habits. Li Qingshan patted her shoulder comfortingly before saying, "Humans have a saying called, 'Without destruction, there can be no construction.' This might be an opportunity." "An opportunity?" "An opportunity to eliminate the divisions between clans and rule over all night roamers." Growing up underground, Yi Liusu was eccentric, but she was no stranger to these schemes under the influence of what she saw and heard. Her mother Yi Mingzhu had discussed this with her countless times. Even if the weak shout themselves hoarse, no one will care. The gentle words of the strong can penetrate deep into people's hearts. Li Qingshan smiled. "I understand." Yi Liusu's gaze became determined. "As long as you understand." Li Qingshan smiled. No one liked being someone else's servant or a clown for others to entertain themselves. Li Qingshan hated it even more. Of course, with his current strength, he was still not strong enough to openly confront the Spider Queen, but he was not someone who could be manipulated by her. There would be a day when the Spider Queen would discover that all of her loyal subordinates were dead, only leaving behind a group of disloyal night roamers. When that day came, if she wanted to play her perverted game, she would have to personally take part. Were demon commanders unkillable? Li Qingshan refused to believe it. At the same time, Li Qingshan's original body ventured even deeper underground. The temperature became colder and colder, where droplets of water turned to ice. He personally witnessed an underground river flow towards freezing. However, after crossing a certain depth, the temperature began to warm up, constantly rising until it became scorching hot, enough to melt metal. The underground rivers gradually decreased, while the fire-red rivers of lava gradually increased, surging about recklessly. In his senses, the auras of living beings became fewer and fewer, almost to the point of non-existence. It had become a truly deathly silent world. Li Qingshan stopped and gasped a few times. He felt a discomfort similar to altitude sickness, so he was forced to use the spirit turtle's profound shell to advance. Even to cultivators, this was a forbidden zone. However, a smile appeared on his face instead. This was because he could clearly feel that the interference from the underground magnetic field was gradually intensifying. He could not even cast the simplest spell. Only the innate supernatural powers of the demons could barely be of use, but they were also beginning to be affected. Li Qingshan took out the Sumeru ring and gritted his teeth. He continued onwards. He wanted to go a little deeper to ensure that nothing would go wrong. In the boundless mountains on Black Rat Mountain, a large rat ran back to the cave and reported, Great King, there's a human outside." The Rat King twiddled his whiskers. "Oh, I'll go take a look. Your support is my greatest motivation." Chapter 437. Fu Qingjin erased his presence and strolled through the mountains slowly. The north wind swept up the snowflakes, making his blue robes flutter. The snow turned the mountains into a boundless world covered in silver. He let out a puff of white air, and the corner of his lips curled slightly. He seemed less dejected and dispirited, more calm and tranquil. If he could cast aside everything and find a bosom friend to wander through these empty mountains, would that not be better than fighting in the mortal world? Everything would return to dust, so why not have nothing in the first place? Suddenly he felt demon chi approach. A rat crawled out of its nest in the snow. When it saw Fu Qingjin, it did not attack immediately. Instead, it called out loudly, "The Rat King has arrived." Then, 16 rats standing on 2 legs, carrying a throne-like palanquin, broke out of the snow and ran over the messenger rat. A shifty-eyed fatty with a golden crown sat on the throne. He pointed at Fu Qingjin and barked, "Human, who are you? Where did you come from? Where did you go? Tell me the truth." Even with how knowledgeable Fu Qingjin was, he was stunned by this scene. He could not help but laugh. "I am Fu Qingjin. I've come to ask the Great King something. Please tell me the truth, Great King. I might spare your life if you do." The second sentence was spoken a moment later. In the green ruins illusion, the crown fell to the ground. The Rat King knelt below the steps and begged for mercy. "Spare me, great immortal. I will definitely tell you everything I know." Fu Qingjin stood on the steps with his hands behind his back, holding the Xieji horn in his hand. "A few years ago, did a cat demon pass through your territory?" The Rat King's eyes swiveled around. I think so, and I don't think so." The Xieji horn was unable to tell the truth from the ambiguous answer. Fu Qingjin picked up the green ruin sword again. Having been taught a few lessons, the Rat King told him everything that had happened that day. He no longer dared to hide anything. Fu Qingjin asked, "Did that demon really have 2 horns on its head, scarlet hair, scarlet eyes, ox hooves, and a tiger tail?" Fu Qingjin glanced at the unmoving Xieji's horn. He let out a long sigh. "So that's how it is. North Moon, you've always been a part of this. Your Majesty! Your Majesty!" After an unknown period of time, the Rat King slowly raised his head amidst the cries of the rat bearers. He found himself in a world of ice and snow again, and Fu Qingjin had already disappeared. Heaving a sigh of relief, he plopped down on the ground. When he saw his crown, he hurriedly pounced on it and wiped it clean. A streak of green light descended from the sky and flashed past the Rat King's eyes. When the Rat King saw that the crown in his hand had already been split in half, he screamed in fear and fled into the cave. The 16 palanquin bearers followed closely behind, leaving the palanquin behind. After a while, the messenger mouse lifted the palanquin and fled into the cave. Li Qingshan's face was flushed by the lava. He was standing on a lava lake. Everywhere was a sea of fiery red. There were no sturdy rocks here. They were like balls of charcoal, emitting a dazzling red light as they slowly melted into the lava lake. If he went any further, he would probably reach the earth's lungs. Li Qingshan wiped the sweat off his forehead. It was here. Not to mention normal spirit artifacts, even the 100 treasures pouch, which was different in nature from normal spirit artifacts, could not be used here. Only this Sumeru ring was not affected. Li Qingshan smiled slightly. He suddenly felt like he was the hobbit in the movies who brought the Lord of the Rings to Volcano Apocalypse. In a trance, the word movie had become an extremely unfamiliar word. His previous life was getting further and further away. However, everything that was happening to him now was even more magnificent than in the movies. Li Qingshan slowly put the Sumeru ring on his finger. Just as he was about to activate it, his gaze suddenly focused. He took out the Sumeru ring and hid it. He tilted his ear and listened. He felt a wave of life coming from a faraway place. It couldn't be. There were actually living beings here, and this so-called faraway place wasn't above, nor was it somewhere parallel to them. Instead, it was even deeper, buried deep within the Earth's lungs. Together with the Earth's lungs, it slowly inhaled and exhaled in an extremely peaceful manner. Li Qingshan was shocked. Even he wouldn't be able to hold on for long if he dared to go any deeper. Unless he cultivated the Phoenix Nirvana Sutra, that didn't mean he could roam freely in the Earth's lungs. At that depth, the interference from the magnetic field was even more severe. It was as if order had been broken and chaos had returned. Even his innate mystiques could not be used freely. Not to mention, there was also the terrifying fire poison and the legendary earth bubble in the Earth's lungs. No demon general could withstand the power of the earth bubble's explosion head-on. In any case, something that could go so deep into the Earth's lungs was definitely not a good person. Li Qingshan took a deep breath and slowly retreated. "What are you doing here?" Suddenly, a voice came from behind him. Li Qingshan immediately turned around and saw Helicoverpa Rosa standing nearby, her bright red dress trailing behind her. She cast a questioning gaze at him. After confirming that the Sumeru ring had been properly hidden, Li Qingshan bowed. "I'm here to cultivate." "Cultivate? You're not a water-type cultivator. Why are you here to cultivate?" Helicoverpa Rosa's questioning voice was sharp and incisive. There was even a thread of murderous intent quietly surging, wrapping around Li Qingshan like spider silk. A drop of sweat rolled down Li Qingshan's forehead. His mind raced. Was it because he had touched Spider Queen's nerves, or because of this strange movement? No, it must have something to do with the presence in the Earth's lungs. This was right below the Spider Queen's territory. Since he could sense the presence, how could the Spider Queen not sense it? This was probably one of the Spider Queen's great secrets. He had accidentally stumbled upon it, which might have already made her grow even more suspicious, making her consider silencing him. The Spirit Turtle's demon core gave off a warning that sounded like a siren, telling Li Qingshan just how dangerous his current environment was. He cursed inside. What did the Spirit Turtle suppressing the seas mean? Why didn't she warn him earlier? However, he also understood that the Earth's lungs and the magnetic field had interfered with the power of the Spirit Turtle's demon core. If this were any other place, Li Qingshan would have some confidence in protecting himself even if he fell out with her, but here he was in an absolutely disadvantageous position. Li Qingshan smiled. "I want to dual cultivate fire and water, which is why I've come. I hope Spider Queen doesn't mind." Helicoverpa Rosa made her way over slowly and grabbed Li Qingshan's wrist before wrapping her arms around his waist. That does make me rather curious. The yin, yang, and 5 elements of demons were predetermined by the heavens. Normally, there would only be one. What Li Qingshan had said made her even more doubtful. Helicoverpa Rosa's beautiful face was only inches away, and her slender, curvy body pressed against his. From Li Qingshan's angle, he could even see the deep gully between her snow-white breasts. If they were on the banks of a lake with lush trees and clear water, accompanied by a beauty who whispered softly to him, just how pleasant would that be? However, the reality of the situation was blackish-red rocks, a lake of magma, and the vicious Spider Queen, whose voice sounded like a curse. Li Qingshan was pressed to the side by her, and below him was the churning magma. As long as he did not give her a satisfactory answer, she would mercilessly push him into the lake of magma, and not even his bones would remain. If Spider Queen is willing, I can demonstrate it. After breaking free from Helicoverpa Rosa, Li Qingshan leapt to the center of the lake in a single step. Satisfy my curiosity, North Moon. Helicoverpa Rosa crossed her arms and smiled. Li Qingshan raised an eyebrow. No problem. However, he thought inside, Phoenix, oh Phoenix, you have to try a little harder this time. Ever since he obtained the Phoenix's scripture of Nerva, Li Qingshan had never given up on comprehending it, but he always ended up in failure. The main reason for that was the existence of the spirit turtle's method of sea suppression. Even though it was a symbol of peace and forbearance, as the ultimate spirit of water, how could it tolerate the existence of a pure spirit of fire? However, when Li Qingshan looked around, he thought of something. If he stayed here, perhaps he really might be able to practice the Phoenix's scripture of Nerva. Sparks rose up and vanished from the lake of magma, like the dance of fire elves. This place could not tolerate the existence of the spirit of water at all. The power of the spirit turtle's demon core had been suppressed to the limit. Perhaps this was an opportunity instead. The demon chi all over his body swelled up, surging with waves of fire. Li Qingshan's figure rapidly grew until he returned to his original form, turning into a colossal figure over 30 meters tall. He stood in the lake of magma like a black, stone pillar propping up the cavern. Although his original form would be slightly less nimble, it was the strongest form of a demon. This is the first time I've seen your original form. So you're a descendant. No wonder, Helicoverpa Rosa murmured from behind. Only the descendants of demons above Demon General could be referred to as descendants. They were not regular wild beasts the moment they were born. Instead, they possessed great strength similar to exotic beasts. However, very few demon generals were willing to do something like this, as it would result in a loss of power. In particular, the mother's side would remain in a state of weakness for a long period of time. However, this did dispel some of Spider Queen's suspicions. His cultivation speed was so fast that it barely made sense. Otherwise, he must have received assistance from other sources. As for Li Qingshan's ox horns and tiger tail, it made Helicoverpa Rosa nod her head slightly. If it was a fusion of 2 races and 2 bloodlines, it would make sense for him to practice 2 elements at the same time. Though, I recall that the second energy you control apart from water is wind. Spider Queen, you'll understand if you keep watching. With that, Li Qingshan no longer paid any attention to Spider Queen. He allowed the lava to swallow him bit by bit. Waves of burning pain assaulted him as the violent fire poison invaded his body. Not only did he not circulate his demon chi to resist it, but he even withdrew all of his demon chi into the spirit turtle's demon core. He even guided the surging fire spirits into his body and began practicing the Phoenix's scripture of Nerva. Immediately, Li Qingshan's eyes lit up like charcoal, burning brightly. At the same time, a sense of nobility rose up from his body. It was like a phoenix cherishing its feathers, proud and aloof. Helicoverpa Rosa furrowed her brows slightly and watched on silently. He really did seem to be controlling the fire spirits. Although Li Qingshan's entire body was in burning pain, his joy overwhelmed all of the pain, as sure enough, practicing the Phoenix's scripture of Nerva here was much smoother. The rampaging fire spirits gathered together under his will, turning into a roaring fireball that constantly revolved. The fireball was not perfectly round. Instead, it was larger on one end and smaller on the other, shaped like a chicken. This was the phoenix's embryo. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation Audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, Martial World, and tales of demons and gods.